Welcome to Motorland, a podcast driven by AAA about the road of life and the wheels that set our journeys in motion. I'm Jared DeAnda, the voice of motorsports and auto events all around the world, and your wheelman here in Motorland.
And I'm Michelle Donati from AAA, happy to be along for the ride.
So a huge percentage of our audience is going to relate to today's guest. And I know you're excited about this one.
I am. I've been fangirling ever since we started the recording session. We have Kelly Stumpe on the show today, and I've really been looking forward to this episode.
What's really cool about Kelly is she posts car reviews and tips on Instagram as the Car Mom. Her podcast, The Carpool, is really getting noticed for turning mom's car time into me time.
And I can really relate to that because when I first became a mom and I had twins, my car turned into my sanctuary. It was an escape, but also if, I was overwhelmed by my newborn twins, like, let's pop them in the car, let's take a ride, let's drive through a car wash. So I love the carpool, and I'm so excited that we have the carpool on the podcast today.
All right, well, let's buckle up and ride. All right, Kelly, aka the Car Mom. Do you want me to call you Kelly or Car Mom? Which would you prefer?
I think we're all friends. We can just go straight to Kelly. But I do typically prefer the Car Mom.
Do you really like?
No, but I do. I need the. Like if they try to say Car Mom, I'm like, it's the Car Mom.
Okay. How about the Car Mom?
Oh, yeah. I don't think I'm that fancy, but maybe.
You just got knighted. Congratulations. All right. So when I picture the typical car dealership, right? But I think of a bunch of salespeople, right? Mostly guys. They're in suits, young, kind of hustling. They're standing around. I mean, that's kind of how you see dealerships.
It's not that far-fetched of a stereotype. However, it's something I'm super passionate about because I was also a car salesman. It was my first job out of college. I did it for about 2 years, and my family actually, I got into the business because my family actually owns car dealerships. So I was around it my whole life.
Oh.
So my perception of it was always this positive place because I always went there and I was like friends with the salespeople. And then when I started selling cars, I really enjoyed it. But it was crazy to see like what the perception of what a dealership is to the majority of the public. So I think part of the driving factor for starting the Car Mom was like, we're not all like that. Like we're not all outside with slick back hair and plaid blazers smoking cigarettes. Like I was a great salesperson, and I just wanted to start building a platform to connect great salespeople to great car buyers.
So walk us through that, because what was the sales experience for you back in the day and the car buying experience? What did you want to change about it?
Yeah, I think what was, again, unique about my experience entering auto is when I decided to do it, everyone was so excited and they were like, you're going to be so good at this. You grew up in the car business. This is going to come so naturally. But in reality, I'd never bought a car. So I really did have to learn the industry from the ground up. I mean, my experience growing up at a dealership was like, I went to the Christmas party and like the sales guys would like give me a lollipop and a balloon. Like that's how I grew up when I was a kid. It wasn't like, hey, mom and dad are buying this car. We never had those typical car buying experiences.
So did you, rather than running away from the business, you really embraced it. Did you go to school and get more education, or your parents and your family kind of just threw you into it?
I went to school and I majored in equestrian science, which is the science of horses.
Horsepower. I'm
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to play around with that joke. I don't really have it nailed down yet.
Okay.
So I thought I was going to be a horse trainer. And then I graduated college and my dad's like, so what are you going to do? I'm like, right. And he told me that he really wanted me to try to sell cars. What was interesting about my car buying experience is I actually started at selling BMWs, which looking back, I think that maybe wasn't the best, because if you think about the people buying BMWs, it didn't really feel like my target audience. Like no one needs a BMW. So I was 22 years old trying to sell to these affluent people on their 7th car purchase, buying a $90,000 car. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about how hard it is to buy a car and how intimidating it is. It also sucks to sell cars. No one likes a salesperson. And especially as a woman, like I think I could relate to my audience so well, because the same reason they didn't like to buy cars, the same reason I didn't like to sell cars. I got several sexist comments said to me. There was several times where I didn't feel comfortable going on test drives with customers, like just weird stuff.
So what did you learn? How'd you want to, and what did you want to change?
Yeah. For the things I didn't like about it, I loved when I was able to connect with a family or a first-time car buyer. And I just felt so passionate about the education surrounding car buying that once I kind of found my groove being with young millennials, first-time car buyers, and taking it less of as a car sale and more as an education piece, I really enjoyed it. And I actually was much more successful selling used vehicles on our BMW lot than I was selling new BMWs, because I'm not a performance driver. So I'm like not going to like sit there and like be the gearhead girl that I think people wanted me to be, but like I get hyped about like a good deal on a used car. So that's kind of where I found my niche in the auto industry.
So the car mom is not a performance driver?
I don't even know how to drive a stick shift.
Oh no, I gotta go.
I know.
We gotta go. I'm joking, Kelly. I'm joking.
No, it's like people are like, oh, you need to learn. I'm like, why?
All right, Michelle. I'm going in. Kelly, what car do you currently drive?
I drove demo cars exclusively.
Okay.
So I would get a new car from the dealership every 3,000 to 4,000 miles. I mean, that's so fun, right? Like a brand new car all the time. And then I had my first kid and I'm like, oh, this is still so fun. And then I had my second kid and I'm like, wait, I can't fit in that car. And now I'm pregnant with my third kid. And I just finally got a Ford Expedition.
Okay. So, I mean, you're an influencer now. I just looked it up, 340,000 followers on Instagram and counting. Is that exclusively who you're investing into, your followers?
Yeah, I call myself an accidental influencer because I definitely didn't ever anticipate. When I came up with the idea to review cars for moms, I knew it was a good idea and I knew there wasn't a person necessarily doing it. I never pictured it would be this influencer type community where women would reach out to me and I would tell me I empowered them to make the good decision. I mean, I just never knew my reach would go that far. Again, I was so excited to talk about the cars, but like now that I have this group of women who send me pictures every time they see a spy car out in public, or like send me the latest like Rivian, or like send me all like this breaking automotive news. Like I feel as though I've found this community or created this community of women who do care about cars in a way that's not just like, which minivan do you drive? It's like, no, like we love the gossip. And I just don't think it was ever presented to my audience in a way that they could relate to it. I love educating them on the car buying, the car selecting, and then just also all things auto industry.
It has to be really great seeing all of these people connect with your content. I know I'm one of those people. I saw Rivian the other day and I was like, I thought of you immediately and I thought of your podcast. Why do you think you've struck a chord with this audience?
I think in a way, like I really believe that these women have always cared about this. So I just think me being able to really put my community first, like I really don't care what the manufacturers think about me. Like I will roast any car. I do not take money from other car brands. Like, and that's because I have the dealer side. So like I've got the support from the dealerships. It's like, I don't need your car. So just really being totally unapologetic and being incredibly honest with the cars and not trying to sell anyone anything other than just honesty. And I just feel like I've kind of turned like the car industry into like pop culture.
But also you're providing education, information. So execs are listening to you. You know, they're listening to this. Have you pissed off any manufacturers?
Yeah.
I just gotta ask. Because I feel like, so are they not sending you cars, or are they trying to,
No.
or are they trying, so they're not, or are they trying to win you over?
Well, I don't want to come with the influencers. I want to come with the journalists. I want to hear the nitty gritty of the car. I don't need you to like fly me to the city and like wine and dine me and get me to say nice things about it. That's not how this is going to work. I want the same respect the journalists have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like with my reviews, I mean, I try to be very fair and very honest. But there are major blind spots that the manufacturers are missing when it comes to building cars that are safe for families. There's a lot of, I think,
oh my gosh,
mismarketing that gets represented. I mean, how many 8-passenger vehicles are out there that are not 8-passenger vehicles that cannot buckle 8 of anything safely? I think that's irresponsible.
That is a pain point of mine. That is such a pain point because I have 3 kids. You are going to have 3 kids. And, you know, you think about like the next car. And so I'm looking at 8-passenger vehicles, but anyone that I've looked at, like, well, there's no way my 3 kids could fit in this comfortably, let alone a full 8. And then in addition, like there's just no trunk space in those vehicles. So that's a huge pain point of mine right now.
Yeah. And I just think it's crazy when you see these manufacturers and these people are like, well, it can go off-roading. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Like 5 people are going to do that. And I know there is that community. I know that is important. But it's like, why do they always get so much more prioritized over like, do the kids have sunshades?
Mm.
Like, is the cup holders decent or are they squares?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you look at the second and the third rows of cars, I mean, I can't believe these manufacturers are asking us to put our most precious cargo, our children, in the 3rd row and not give them air vents.
Right.
But don't worry, it can go over a rock. Okay. Who cares?
Hey, what is your podcast all about? Like just give the quick little 2-line spiel there, Kelly.
Yeah. So the Carpool is a podcast I do with my sister. Her background was in digital marketing for dealerships. And we went full time with the car mom, I don't know, about 1.5 years ago. And it's just the time to give women, we call it mom time off. We have a lot of different segments. We play games. We always give an easy dinner recipe. And then we also have an industry news segment. And that's where I find automotive related stories and we gossip about it like it's pop culture. It's like when they walk onto a car lot, like they know that this is the new release of the Honda Pilot because I've been talking about it for 6 weeks and they know when the body style changed and they know what to look for and they know that used car prices are dropping. So just making sure they feel empowered and just up to date on all things auto.
One of my favorite. I've been like educating my wife and my friends on it. I'm like, did you know? And so it's really great content to listen to, but it's all centered around your love and your family's love of cars.
All right. Let's talk about EVs here because I want you to look in your crystal ball. What do you see happening with EVs for moms, Kelly?
Well, I'm very excited about EVs. I do live in rural Missouri, so our infrastructure for EVs is not amazing. I also am incredibly frustrated. This is not like me hating on the manufacturers. Some of them are great, and I love some of the cars. But families have been so left out of the EV conversation. And I feel like families are in some of the least fuel efficient cars out there. And we are going to be the last ones to get electric or even hybrid cars of those vehicles available. And it's frustrating to see, like, okay, so we can have a Ford F-150 Lightning that gets 1,000 horsepower and can charge a house for 10 days. And my Expedition can't be a hybrid. So so it's like, so we're really after fuel economy and environmental friendliness. It's like, so these families, we have no options. There is no full-size electric option that's available right now. And the manufacturers have prioritized clickbaity cars like a Hummer that can crab walk before a Tahoe can get 20 miles a gallon. You know what I mean? Like, I just want the things to be practical.
Function is fashion.
And then they can be cool, but like practical is cool too, right?
But I feel like that's very much like a mom point of view, right?
Yeah.
And so I love that you're championing that cause.
I think like as a mom, you give up so much of your life for your children. I gave up my body. I gave up my career at one point. I gave up my social life. I like don't want to give up how I feel in a car. And that's where I think like if you want to be a minivan mom, I'm loving the minivan moms, but I also want women to know there's other options. And it sounds silly and people don't get it unless you get it. But like there is power in a mom that feels cute in the Starbucks drive-through line. That girl is unstoppable. And I think like men get that opportunity. They get to drive like a truck or whatever, or sports car, whatever they want to drive. And like no one thinks it's silly. So like, why is it silly if like I want to feel super cute at Starbucks with tinted windows and a blacked out Ford Expedition? It's not. So that's what I do.
All right. It's the holidays are coming up. You're on your way over the river, through the woods to grandmother's house you go. Talk about your family road trip kit. What are some essential items that the car mom takes?
Yes. Good question. I think like first, like it's all about the planning. And they really say like from a car seat safety standpoint, children do need to get out of the car seat every 2 hours, like for their blood flow, for their development. So I think you have to make it part of the journey, right? Like you have to make the road trip fun. You know, one thing I see families always do when it comes to road trip safety is if they load the car down and like no one can move and there's things everywhere. Well, one, that's a miserable driving experience for everybody. Two, it's affecting your visibility. And three, like heaven forbid you get in an accident. Now you have projectiles going like every which way to Sunday. So just like really packing strategically and making sure I think there's enough cabin space and everyone's safe is important. And then, I mean, like, I don't know, like, I mean, I have a Wi-Fi hotspot and like, it's the best. And I just give those suckers their iPads and I'm just
screen time.
And then it turn on a great podcast for mom.
So cool.
Kelly, let's remind everybody where they can find you.
Sure. You can find me on Instagram at The Car Mom. And then my podcast is The Carpool. And we also have a website, The Car Mom Official, which has a lot of great like car buying resources. So we have a lot of like free resources. We have a car shopping workbook. We have online courses all about car buying. So we like to hold your hand through the whole process.
I love it. Thank you so much, Kelly. I really, really appreciate it.
Well, thanks, guys. Such a fun convo. I mean, I get asked to do a lot of podcasts by like a lot of mom podcasts. So it was fun to talk about cars and less about like motherhood. So thank you for that. Feeling recharged. It was fun.
That was an eye-opening conversation.
I'm excited for you to join the carpool, Jared. Get in the car, take some MTO, that mom time off she talked about. I feel like this conversation was meant to happen.
The biggest takeaway for me is I just liked her stance and her being just as unapologetic to one of the largest industries in the world, the automotive industry. And I think that stance is very, very refreshing.
And, you know, when you're become a parent, you know that like the car is no longer just about you, but it's about your most precious cargo. So having that perspective and that perspective she provides to manufacturers gives me a lot of hope in and potentially what we'll see in the future.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again to Michelle. Thanks again to AAA for keeping this podcast rolling. And if, God forbid, our car breaks down on the way to see family, we're going to put our AAA membership to work, right?
Well, I hope that doesn't happen, but it is one less thing for you to have to worry about, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Michelle, happy holidays to you and all the Donatis, because I know you likes the parties.
Thank you, Jared, and happy holidays to you as well. I will talk to you next year.
Hello, 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 take me anywhere.
Motorland is executive produced by AAA Mountain West Group in cooperation with Sound That Brands. Hello, Take Me Anywhere, written by Justin Sullivan, performed by Night Shop, by arrangement with Terror Bird Media. Thank you for listening. If you like it here in Motorland, that's right, please give us a rating and review. It's kind of like sending postcards that say, wish you were here. I'm Jared Dienda. May the road rise to meet you and the wind be at your back. We'll see you again soon in Motorland.